today it would be a fun day to read a book that reminds us that every single person is special. That means you, and it means me. And so sometimes we need little reminders because there's lots of people in this world, and sometimes there are people that we're friends with. Sometimes there are people that we're not friends with. But it's all about loving each other and loving all the other people that there are. So I thought today I'd read this really cute book called Chrysanthemum, and it is by Kevin Henke. And he actually wrote the book and he drew the pictures. Do you see the cover? It's pretty fun. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. "She's perfect," said her mother. "Absolutely," said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. "Her name must be everything she is," said her mother. "Her name must be absolutely perfect," said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew, and when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. Look, do you see her? She's growing up from a baby to a big girl mouse. Yeah, so cute. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. Can you see it? There we go. On the first day of school, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. "Hooray!" said Chrysanthemum. "School!" She's so excited. But when Mrs. Chud took roll, everyone giggled. When they heard Chrysanthemum's name, they laughed. Mrs. Chud called Dawn, Eve, Lois, Al, Les, Kay, Max, Sue, Bill, Pat, Tom, Sam, Ken, Joe, Rita, Victoria, Chrysanthemum. All of them laughed. "It's so long," said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "You're named after a flower." Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now, please put your head down and take a nap. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, and the students all lined up to go home. And I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Oh, she doesn't look very happy. How does Victoria look? Don't know. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. And I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mom. Your name is beautiful and precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. No, she looks sad. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner of macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and Parcheesi. Look, it's a fun game. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. Ugh. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. Oh no. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and dirty things. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now, put your head down and take a nap. I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Wow, she's so sad and she used to be so happy. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower, and they pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mom. They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Who wouldn't even be jealous of a name like yours? They should be, said her mother. After all, it's absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals, and Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Ugh, I bet it was. The next day, Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, and everything else about her was wonderful. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Oh, they really liked her a lot. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales, learning to sing with their voices at different levels. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger, and Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. Oh, how do you think she looks? How do you think she feels? I don't know. She looks a little worried and sad. It's hard to tell. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, Chrysanthemum's a daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy. Jo and Rita and Victoria chanted, thinking that it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. Oh. What's so humorous? Asked Mrs. Twinkle. Chrysanthemum, was their answer. Her name is so long, said Jo. It scarcely fits on her name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. She's named after a flower. Oh, they don't seem like they're being very nice at all. My name is Long, said Mrs. Twinkle. It is, said Jo. My name would scarcely fit on a name tag, said Mrs. Twinkle. It would, said Rita. And, said Mrs. Twinkle, I'm named after a flower too. You are, said Victoria. Yes, said Mrs. Twinkle. My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering naming her Chrysanthemum. I think it's absolutely perfect. Oh! Chrysanthemum could hardly believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Oh. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. Call me Marigold, said Jo. I'm Carnation, said Rita, pointing. My name is Lily, Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Oh, she's so happy. Oh, here's the very end little part. It's so fun. Overall, the class musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made only one mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought that was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. Look, you see the last page? Yay! That was wonderful. Did you like it? I loved it. I love that book. I love how much Chrysanthemum's name was very, very different. And she loved it so much. And her parents loved her and loved the name they gave her. But then when she went to school, her name was very different. There was something different about her. And all of a sudden, everybody else decided that what made her different didn't make her special, but made it just funny. And they started to be mean. And then Chrysanthemum went from feeling good and special to feeling sad. And they said, wilted. Oh. But then she met somebody else that everybody thought was wonderful. And everybody found out that names can be special. Names are special, whether they're a little short name like Joe or Rita, or they're a long name like Victoria, or an extra long name like Chrysanthemum or Delphinium. When we get a name from our parents, it's because there's a reason behind it. It's because it makes them think something very special in their head and in their heart. And guess who knows your name besides your parents? Okay, well, yes, all your friends and your family. Oh, that's right. But guess who else? God. God knows your name, and he loves you very much. So if anybody starts to not be nice to you for any reason, if it's something that because you're different, whether your hair is different or your skin is different, or maybe you talk a little bit different, or maybe you even think differently, don't let people make you feel bad. What makes you different also makes you very special. And God knew about you, and something wonderful will come along the way, and it will show you why he made you the special person that you are. Okay, everybody, let's look through our hearts. We gotta see love. Gotta look at love through all the different people, through our heart, to remember that every person is special and every person is loved and deserves love. Okay, I see you and I love you. Bye. I'll see you next time. Bye.